Welcome back to the Trendcrusher podcast. I know it's been a couple of weeks, but yeah, things have been a bit hectic on the work and personal front. And I know I'm trying to keep up, but let's be honest, it's not that easy to keep up week on week with the amount of music that's being released. A quick heads up also, I'm going to be taking things a bit easy. So I think there's going to be only one more episode or two more at the most coming out this month in September. I'm finally also taking a holiday and catching a metal show. More on that in the upcoming episodes. Maybe I'll do a gig review. Who knows? Today's episode is with Jake E, who's the vocalist of Cyhra, and their album, The Vertigo Trigger, is out now by Nuclear Blast Records. I really enjoyed it. I mean, if you've heard the past episodes and have heard me talking about melodic death metal and, just that catchy kind of vibe, well, Cyhra hits all those boxes. Definitely check out the Vertical Trigger if you haven't already. Add it to your Spotify playlist or wherever you listen to music. Here's Jake telling us more about the album. Hi, Jake. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing absolutely fine. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And, we're speaking a month away from the release of your third album, The Vertigo Trigger. Now, I know it's
Yeah.
like a month, but so far, how does it feel now that, the album's got a release date and stuff like that? You're doing press around the album.
It feels fantastic. I mean, like the album has been done now for quite some time, and we were actually ready to already release it in January, but we decided to postpone it because the pandemic fucked everything up, and all festivals were already booked, and there were so many bands that were moved over for from the years where the pandemic hit. So we decided to postpone it. So the album's been done for so long. So for me, I'm already on the next album in my head, but now I'm finally looking forward to see people's reaction when we're finally getting this album out.
Okay, that's interesting that you say it because this was a question I wanted to ask you later on, but I think I can bring it up front. So before y'all did the tour of Japan, the album was already all set and everything else. So all y'all did was just play for it like there was no changes, nothing made after that?
No, we did not change anything except we wrote a Japanese bonus track that we had
Okay.
forgotten about. But other than that, we actually went to Japan. So first of all, we released the first single, "Ready to Rumble," in like September last year, and
Correct.
that was meant to be followed up by other singles and so on. And then we went to Japan and we played the whole album in its entity in Japan, and we did that because we really wanted to try out the songs for the Japanese audience and see if there were some things that we wanted to change. But everything felt fantastic, and the Japanese fans loved it. So we just came home and said that nope, the album's done. This is what it is, and we were really happy about that.
And actually, that's a very interesting approach. And I want to dive a bit into that, right? Because typically you have bands touring in support of their album. You have some singles, some music, but this time around, literally, you all went playing new music to this audience in Japan. And again, like from what I've seen and heard, like Japan has like a very strong metal following, even though they may be in numbers relatively few compared to other countries. But
Yeah.
yeah, what was that experience like?
No, but here's the thing. So I mean, like Japanese people are fantastic. They are very devoted when it comes to their bands and their music that they like. If Japanese fans find a band, they will stick on to that as it's their uh, you know relative. You become family with the fans because they will be there and support you. It's not like a um, in pop music. People are constantly cheating on their artists. I mean, like they listen to one single of Ed Sheeran and then they listen to one song on Beyonce, and they will not be there to support the artist. They will listen to songs, but when it comes to metal bands, we have the fortunate. We're fortunate that we have fans that stick on, and they decide to, if they like a band, they will always be there for you. The cool thing with Japan, and I think that this is the only reason why we did it in Japan, is because they were also very trustworthy. And when I told the audience that we're gonna play new songs, you are free to film, but please do not upload anything to YouTube, they did not. So there's no videos coming up from the Japanese tour because I told them not to post anything. If this would have been in any other country in the world, it would have been all over the place, and the album would already been leaked. But they felt pride in that we did that for them, and they keep it for themselves, and I really love that.
Yeah, and I think this is doubled by the fact, which I read, where Japan, the reason why CDs still sell over there and stuff like that is just because of strong piracy. And just as a culture, they do value the art, right? So it's completely getting complemented by what you're saying right now.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I have to throw this up front, and this was one of those questions I wanted to like warm up with. Is I still remember when Cyhra was announced, the band, and slowly, your first album came out and stuff like that. A tag that always gets put along with the band is supergroup. Now, what do you think of the term? Is that something that you embrace, or you're like, you know what, call us what you want?
We are absolutely a super group because we're super good. But it's
Well played.
obviously so that when you come from when you come from already famous bands, I mean, like I was in Amaranth, Jesper was in Flames, Oige in Shining, and also Leningrad Cowboys back in the days, Alex from Camelot and Annihilator, and so on and so forth. And now we got Marcus that used to be in Engel and that other band. I don't remember what it's called, but uh, you know, it's impossible for journalists to not use the term supergroup or whatever. But I mean, like we're all getting there in our age is going up, and you want to form a band with your friends, and you cannot decide that your friends are not supposed to have done anything else in their career. Um, we're all at the point where we already had careers back in the days, so it is what it is. And I'm extremely proud of playing with all these guys, and they're fantastic musicians, and I could never have wished to play with anyone else because it's just fantastic. It's just tabloid media thing of doing the super group thing. We have never ever, aimed to, start a band with, yeah, this guy is going to be in or that because of that they have been playing in those various bands. It just happened to be.
Yeah, which actually kind of brings me to the next question I had, right? Is you talked about, being in all these bands, and a band that I've really been following for many years is In Flames. And Jasper's part In Flames, and when that was one of the initial things that attracted me to Cyhra. Tell me about your rapport with him, and like the fact that you all wanted to start a new band. How do you kind of
Yeah.
like deal with all the various tags, the supergroup, and all the various associations that people may have around the band?
The thing was that, I mean, like me and Jesper, we have known each other for many, many years. I mean, like it's probably 20 years by now, and we started to know each other when I was In Flames pyrotechnician back in the days, at one point in time we just said, no, at some point we're going to do something together, and when I was just about to leave Amaranth, Jesper had recently left In Flames, and he asked me if I could sing on his solo album. And I asked him, yeah, but can you play on whatever I'm gonna do after Amaranth? And he said yes. So we sit down in the studio and we start to write songs for. I think it was Jesper's thing first, and then we just realized that why don't we just do something together instead? So that was how Cyhra was formed. Um, and the rest is history. Um, uh, so yeah, it just happened to be, and supergroup or not, I mean, like that was not our intention. We were just two friends that wanted to create music together.
Okay, so let's talk a bit about the Vertigo trigger, right? Because I'm
Yeah.
very curious to know about the sound. And I was reading an interview you did with, I think, Japanese media before leaving for that tour, where you said, and I'm going to quote you, you will directly hear it's a Cyhra album for the first time you hit the play button. So I'm curious to know what about the Vertigo trigger is, you know, the Cyhra sound, or how would you kind of describe the Cyhra sound if you could?
Yeah, I could easily describe the Cyhra songs. Cyhra songs are always melodic. It's always easy to sing along to. It's easy to relate to when it comes to lyrical content, but it's also this. It always have the hooks. There will never be a chorus that you cannot, like, yeah, I feel it, like that. That's the punchline. That is a very important thing for me when I write music, and I think that is because I'm a Swedish person that is brought up with, ABBA and Roxette and whatever, that always needs music. To me, always need to have a hook. It can be a hook in the vocals. It could be a hook in the guitar melody. It could be a keyboard hook, but it needs to have that thing that you remember after you hear the song the first time. There should be something that lingers on in your head, and like, yeah, I remember that thing. Well, that I would say is a perfect Cyhra sound.
Okay, before we cut to a song, I have to add it because you talked about Sweden, right? Have you seen the Netflix documentary This Is Pop?
This is pop with yeah. I think they have one episode where they call it the Stockholm syndrome
Yeah.
or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. With Max Martin and all these.
correct. And that's
Yeah,
exactly when you talk about that, right? It comes to mind where literally I was always curious to know if you look at like all the boy bands or any of this pop music, it all came from this one place. And if you think about it, like just for all that music coming from Stockholm, and for all our listeners, if you haven't checked out this documentary, I'm going to specifically link it and this episode because then you'll kind of get a context. But what you're describing is exactly that. And if I may, since I'm the host, but please allow me to do that, is I want to talk about the track Life is a Hurricane, right? Because
yeah,
to me, it's what you it describes exactly how you put it. It's got the hook, it's got the melody, it's got the lyrics that you can relate to, and also like I watched the video where you put out the about the message behind the song, and I think
yeah.
that's something about, you know, I could totally relate to it. I mean, I think by the second time I was singing along to the chorus itself, and that for me is a mark of a great song. So what would you like to add about the song before we cut to it?
No, the song itself, lyrically, it grabs onto all the stuff that the whole album is about. The song itself, I mean, the whole lyrical concept of the whole album touches a lot of my death anxiety that I've been going through since I was a kid, but this song specifically is a message where I sing a song to my kids, where I tell them that I'm not going to be here for the rest of your lives, and I am very sad about that. But uh, also, if I would disappear today, I want you to know that I want you to pursue your dreams and your goals in life without anyone else telling you what to do. I want you to, live your life the fullest, and you only have one life, and make sure that there's going to be ups and downs. I sing. Life is a rodeo, and I sing that life is a hurricane, and I sing about that you're gonna, have bad times and good times, but whatever comes in your way, just look straight ahead, and aim for what you want to do with your life, and make sure that you're not steered by anyone else beliefs. Make your life your own. So yeah, that is what the song is about.
Awesome. And I think that's a great moment to kind of cut straight to the track. So Here's Life is a Hurricane.
So count them carefully, each piece of this puzzle of memories. A sip of despair gives you remedy. Please remember your father's eyes. Don't miss sight on friends or foes. Life will be a rodeo. I hope to be a part of all. 'Cause there will come a time when I won't be around. Promises we make, we are puppets set up by wires. Till the end of days, coming up, I'm coming up far away. Life ain't fair, all love defeats all wars in vain. Life is a hurricane. Within this melody, each tone is a brick of a history. Decisions and deeds form reality. You have borrowed your mother's eyes. Don't miss out on friends or foes. Life will be a rodeo. I hope to be a part of all. 'Cause there will come a time when I won't be around. Promises we make, we are puppets set up by wires. Till the end of days, coming up, I'm coming up far away. Life ain't fair, all love defeats all wars in vain. Life is a hurricane. Promises we make, we are puppets set up by wires. Till the end of days, coming up, I'm coming up far away. Life ain't fair, all love defeats all wars in vain. Life is a hurricane. Life is a hurricane.
And that was Life is a Hurricane by Cyhra. And I'm speaking to Jake, the vocalist of the band. Now, one more thing I want to kind of talk about, right, is you did mention Marcus at the start, and he's the recent addition to the band. What was that like adding him into this entire mix in there, right? Because he's again been playing in bands like Engel and The Crown. So, what kind of impact did that have on
The Crown, that's the guy. That's the band that I was after before.
Yeah. So, what's the impact that had on the Vertigo trigger?
Yeah, the impact that he had was that obviously we are all getting older, we're getting ugly, and no one wants to look at the band anymore. And we wanted to have a fresh approach, and we wanted to have like a really good-looking guitar player so that we could attract some female fans. And yeah, I think that was great. I think that I think he can play guitar. I'm not really sure, but that doesn't really matter because now. No, of course not. He jumped in and filled in for Jesper when Jesper took some time off, and after 2-3 years in the band, together with Jesper, of course, Jesper was participating in the discussions, and Jesper said that when I come back, I actually want to play bass. And since Peter left the band in the beginning because the time when Peter was in the band and he left, it was just because he did not have the time at that point in time to put fully focus on Cyhra because he just recently started up a brewery company, and he had his restaurants and stuff like that. So he could not participate 100%, and then we decided to go without a bass player. So now when Jesper is finally getting ready to come back, he's going to play with us next week and for a couple of more shows coming up now in August. He said that I'm going to play the bass, and we decided to have Marcus on guitar for as a full time member. So that's fantastic. He's a great guy. He's really nice. He's fitting into the band perfectly, and he's also a great guitarist, and he looks splendid. He's a very good looking guy, so that's great.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things in metal, right? You can't you the lack of good looking guys.
Exactly. All of us is losing our hair, and he has this what is it called?
Main the main.
Yeah, mane. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so one thing that you all did different also on this album is you all decided to self-produce it with your guitarist Eugene taking over the mixing duties. Now, for longtime metal listeners and people who know your backgrounds and bands, it would make sense. But why decide to take this decision on the Vertigo trigger?
It's a really easy way or a really easy explanation, and that was the pandemic. As I told you before, we live in 3 or 4 different countries and in 5 different cities, and the reason behind it was that during the pandemic, it was extremely hard to travel. It was also really expensive to travel, and there was laws about how many people you could be in one location, and this and that. It was hard to book hotels or houses or whatever. So it's hard for us to go to Denmark, where we usually record our albums with Jacob Hansen, and we all have professional studios. And I mean, like, when I'm not writing songs for Cyhra, I write songs for others, and I produce other bands. And it's just that I have never produced myself because I never had the trust in myself to do it myself. But Oige turned out to be a fantastic mixer. So he just said that, why don't we just do it ourselves and let me do it? And the result came back, and it was fantastic. So yeah, it went great. I don't know if we're going to do it again, but it's extremely convenient to be able to do it ourselves, because then you don't have to have everything done. You could write, produce, mix, produce, reproduce, whatever. You could send things back and forth. So that was great.
Okay, my complete apologies. I have no idea how to say his name and I completely butchered it. But thanks for correcting
Me neither. I say it wrong all the time. I think it's Ilge, but I call him Oige. So yeah, and for an American, it's of course Eugene, and yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But so having said that, right? I mean, like, looking back, and you've been like doing this for a while now, what would you say was one thing that you actually learned while recording or writing the Vertigo trigger?
Uh, One thing that I learned most is that I need to let myself go and not overthink the process too much, because when you're self producing something and you don't have a timeline to follow compared to when you're renting a studio and you have 6 to 8 weeks where you have to be done, uh, there might be so sometimes that you've been overworking songs. It might be so that a song that should have been done a week ago now takes a month to do, because you're trying and trying and trying and trying too much, and you're changing too much, and all of a sudden you come to the point where the song does not sound like it sounded in the beginning. So that is something that I've learned, that I need to trust my instincts way more than I did. So yeah, that was a great learning curve.
So I think it's also time where we play another track from the album. And this time I'm going to let you pick. So which track should we play and why?
I would say that you should play Live a Little, because that song is a more uplifting song from the album, and it's also about the same kind of concept, but like, don't be so stuck in, your situation, and, don't say no to opportunities, live a little. Just, if someone asks you to come to a party and you are tired and you will say no, say yes, because you'd never know what's going to happen if you say yes. Live a little.
Awesome. So here's the track.
My mother told me I was half-part lion, that I should look upon the great Orion. Communication beyond the stars. Sometimes I feel I belong on Mars. Our generation is condemned by leeches. We see them following religious preachers. So let it out, so let me know what the hell is going on. All I can say about repulsive leaders, irresponsible to heal this fever. To clear this mess up, we can't sit and wait. The day the atom breaks. Because you know I'm right. There is no way out. You know I'm right. Time to blind your eyes. You hold the trigger. Will we stay alive? You know I lie. So let me sum it up. Let's live a little. My mother told me we'll be alright. Yeah, we are running through a constant fight. Reverting nations that fall apart. I wish we all could live among the stars. But every morning we'll refuel our vision. We take stands on grounds we built on fiction. So let me tell you what's going on. I'm right and you are wrong. There is no way out. You know I'm right. Time to blind your eyes. You hold the trigger. Will we stay alive? You know I lie. So let me sum it up. Let's live a little. There is no way out. You know I'm right. Time to blind your eyes. You hold the trigger. Will we stay alive? You know I lie. So let me sum it up. Let's live a little.
Okay, that was Live a Little. And I'm still talking to Jake, the vocalist of Cyhra. Now, one more thing, while I was doing research on you, I kind of saw that you also do host a radio show. Now, tell me about it, like, because you said you work in production and you're writing songs and stuff like that. How often do you get to like check out new music? Are you one of those people who's keeping up every Friday as to what's coming up, and what's caught your eye lately?
No, I am not. I'm terrible with music. It's actually my wife that plays music at home, and I'm just like, oh, what's this? And she's like, oh, haven't you heard this? Blah blah blah. I'm always month away from knowing what's up and whatever. But here's the thing: I work in a recording studio, which is my own, and I have it as my. I go here even though I could sit home and just rolling my thumbs. I always go to the office at 8. I end at 4, and always make some kind of music for either it's for me or it's for others. But I do that every day. So when I get away from here, the last thing that I want to do is listen to music.
Yeah.
So that means that I rarely even listen to music anymore. But if I listen to music, I listen to something else than what I'm doing myself. So lately, I completely fallen in love with Ed Sheeran, and
Oh,
I just think that he is such a fantastic songwriter and lyricist, and yeah, I just love everything that he does. I think that he is a phenomenal musician. So yeah, if I listen to something at the gym or whatever, that would be Ed.
so it's such a contrast, right? Because I always joke with my friends is that there's music like Mishuga or stuff like Amon Amar that you listen to the gym, but like you're listening to Ed Sheeran at the gym.
But you have to take in consideration. I write so many songs for other genres and other things, and I it doesn't matter. You were talking about the Stockholm phenomena back, like the Max Martin or whatever.
Yeah,
All pop songs that are, top ones has been written by metal musicians that are now writing pop music.
yeah.
So pop music, modern pop music is in reality metal songs that has a pop um, suit on them. Um, so I learn a lot by listening to, uh, I love Max Martin. I love, all the old stuff, but I also love heavy guitars and drums and the energy from metal. So I think that both sides of it, you have a lot to learn, and I am completely open. It doesn't matter if I listen to Justin Bieber one day or D side the other day. I'm completely open for all kinds of genres, and I think that a good song is a good song. It doesn't matter. I hate when people cannot go out of their boundaries and like, no, I only listen to you know speed metal from the Bay Area and everything else sucks. You know, you
But
need to be
first four
way more
Metallica
open minded.
albums.
Yeah, exactly. Which I
Yeah.
also love, by the way. My first album that I ever bought was Kill 'Em All, but yeah.
Wow. So okay, hold that thought because I'm gonna ask you something about that very, very soon. But look, I love doing this and I can keep going on, but I don't want to take too much time. So just quickly to wrap up, I noticed you've got a release party scheduled in Gothenburg. Do you have any more such promotional shows or a tour lined up? At least something that you can talk about at the moment?
Yeah, well, next week we're actually playing. Next week we're playing a big show for 10,000 people in Stockholm, Sweden. It's called Bandit Rock Party. It's one of the biggest radio stations in Sweden that host a party. It's gonna be us. It's gonna be Heat. It's gonna be the singer from White Lion. What's his
Oh,
name? Uh, gonna be Smash Into Pieces. It's gonna be some other bands as well, which is gonna be fantastic. And after that, we have a big city festival coming up. Also, 5-10,000 capacity. And after that, we have the release party in Gothenburg, the 18th of August, and the 19th of August we're gonna hold a release party in Stockholm where we're not gonna play. We're just gonna have a party, and soon we're gonna announce new dates and tours. So that's gonna be fucking fantastic.
yeah. And one thing I must really commend and appreciate is the fact that you guys still have a website. So for all the details, just go check out their website. I'm going to leave a link in the comments because I think like
Yeah,
as
please also link to our Instagram account because nowadays people are not watching homepages. I mean, like
yeah,
Instagram is the way to go to. So yeah, check our Instagram. That's daily. It's updated daily with all the news.
awesome. So any final words, anything else that you'd like to add? This is your space. Go ahead.
I forgot to ask where you are located.
Do you want to take a stab looking at my surname?
Yeah, but that could be any of the countries in the area, and I know which country you're in, but I don't know which city you're in.
Mumbai. So it's Bombay.
Mumbai.
Yeah.
Mumbai, and that is called Bombay for me, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. So no, I would love to say that I would love to come and play in India, and we've never been there. When I was in Amaranth, we had one show that we were supposed to do, but for some reason the festival got canceled. But I had friends of mine playing at that festival the year after, and there was Hammerfall, and Hammerfall told
Oh
me that
wow.
Hammerfall told me that they built the stage out of bamboo, and then they
Oh
have a
yeah.
party afterwards where they actually set the whole stage on fire, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. 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 And then I
So
think I know where you're talking about. I just vaguely remember Hammerfall coming in, but yeah, that would be a lot of
yeah.
fun.
But the message that I want to send out, of course, is that everyone that listens to it to the podcast, please take your time, listen to one song or two songs by Cyhra, and I hope that you're gonna like it, and yeah, I just hope that we get some new fans in India.
Awesome. Awesome. So thanks so much, Jake, for taking time out. And yeah, for everyone else, stay tuned. Everyone else, check the show notes for all the links.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and have a great day now.
And that was Jake from Cyhra. As I always say, but this time it's also no different. Totally enjoyed my chat with him. I think I'm definitely going to get him on the podcast before the end of the year again, because we totally hit it off, and I think like I could have definitely done a much longer episode with him. So if you're listening to this, Jake, keep an eye out on your inbox. As always, before I sign off, do hit subscribe on the platform you're listening to. If you're listening on Spotify, give me a rating. Let me know what you think of this episode and the podcast in general. To find out when episodes are releasing, follow me on Instagram or X/Twitter, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I'm Trendcrusher. And if you're a band that wants to be featured on the podcast, hit me up, trendcrusher@gmail.com, or just either of my social media profiles. That's all for this week. I'll see you all very soon. Cheers.